My first memory of it sitting here was actually '92 World Cup, when New Zealand Australia hosted the World Cup, and my old man brought me to the cricket, gave me my $20 when I arrived, and that was me for the day. There was a playground in the background there where the nets used to be, and come up here with my mates, sit here for 5 or 10 minutes with a hot dog, and then all of a sudden down playing cricket in the, around the ground, and then also being able to get on the pitch at the break. That was the first moment I realised I'd love to play out there. And then 97, 96, 97, I sat there again and watched Wellington, the Shell Cup final. It was Shell Cup back then. They went on to win that game. It was, those are the days. I mean, coming back to Wellington feels weird now that I live in the UK, but it's still home. And I think Wellingtonians would appreciate my sentiments when I say coming back to one of the greatest cities in the world is always a pleasure and never a chore. Back in those days, kids were busy doing everything, weren't they? For me, it was hockey all week, and then a little bit of cricket on the weekend, and then got drafted into the Wellington squad, the Wellington men's squad, after being in the 15s, 17s, 19s, going through the ranks and having the odd opportunity to play out here. And I remember training out here where guys used to go to work in the day, finish work at 5, and we'd start training at 6, which meant I could finish school, to go to hockey training, catch the bus here, and bowl to the guys in the nets. And you walk in the training room, they're hanging their suits up, how far the game has come. And then having to bowl out there and getting whacked to the other side of the ground. Richard Petrie was pretty good at that. But to have support of the older guys and the people that you looked up to at age 18, 19 was massive. And then you get to play out there, and it's really surreal. And just having friends and family on the bank, kids coming over from the school that you knew, it's just so cool. But ultimately, fulfilling the dream. And I was so lucky to have that opportunity and to continue to have the opportunity to keep coming back to this place.
Go the Black Caps! Power up!
Obviously, Lords holds its traditions. This is New Zealand's oldest ground. It's its most iconic ground. I was fortunate enough to play out there for Wellington, and then in the end play a test match for New Zealand out there as well. And as a kid growing up, that's all I wanted to do. So I got to fulfill my dreams, and not many people get that opportunity. So for me, it's definitely one of the best grounds in the world. I said to the boys as we drove up yesterday, welcome to the home of cricket. They all scoffed at me because they're all from England and see Lords as the home of cricket, but or the Oval or Edgbaston or Trent Bridge. For me, this is one of the best grounds in the world, and for it to be in the middle of a roundabout and one of the busiest parts of town, it just has so much going on. And where it's come from to where it is now is amazing, and testament to all those that work here at Cricket Wellington. We lost the toss on a really flat wicket up there, and I ended up bowling 55 overs, I think, in that first inning. So it was a tough initiation for a young kid, but lucky enough to take 5 for, bowled enough overs to get 5 wickets, to be honest with you. Just rolled on from there. Sports, one of those things, there's highs and lows, and you're going to run more lows than you are highs. My first year was a fun year for me, and it probably, hindsight looking back, gave me the opportunity to keep playing for Wellington, keep cementing my spot. Got left out a few times, came back in, had some success, and then you don't, and you get toing and frying, and then end up getting called up for New Zealand. As much as it was my dream, it was certainly my old man's dream to play for New Zealand, and lucky enough to put on the silver fern back then. It got serious, probably too serious for a while. Probably took a lot to heart, and it's one of those things that you look back on and think, I could have been a little bit easier on myself. Expected a lot more of myself, when actually you forget that the opposition are out there to try and win a game as well, and you're playing against some of the best players in the world. But Braces was certainly a mentor. I think Dan Vittoria was huge in my growth as a spin bowler. But there's so many people around. That's the beauty of New Zealand, is we've got more sheep than people. So you know everyone, and everyone wants to help you out and want you to get better. So you actually form relationships quicker, and you can get a lot more trust. The Black Caps have a tradition where the night before every test match, they get a guest speaker in to speak about what the silver fern means to them, what New Zealand means to them, what representing their country means to them. My test debut was in South Africa, Cape Town. What a great part of the world, to be fair. We're all sitting in the team meeting, and in walks one of New Zealand's greatest rugby players, in Richie McCaw. And I didn't have an inkling that I was going to play. There was a couple of murmurs around training that day, but I didn't really think much of it. Trying to downplay it, I suppose. Richie spoke about what the silver fern meant to him, representing New Zealand and the All Blacks, and he was obviously a rock star back then in 2005, and he handed my cap to me, and you know, to think about it now, it's pretty surreal to have someone of that importance to hand your test cap to you. And then fortunately played in that test match. You know, I was named in the 12 overnight, played in the test match, and lucky enough to take a wicket in my first over. And you think test cricket's easy, but it got a lot harder after that. When I came back and played after a few years, and I was a bit more relaxed about where I was and a bit more comfortable in my own skin, and trusted the skills I had, I felt like once I'd retired or once I'd finished playing for New Zealand, I'd done what I needed to do. You know, I'd fulfilled my dream. I took the odd fifer, I contributed to the couple of wins, but I got to experience what playing for New Zealand was all about. Would I have liked more? Of course. You know, everyone wants more in life, but I'm content. And I'm probably more content for the fact that the game of cricket itself has led me to where I am now, where I probably feel like I'm living my best life. And, you know, my family and I are really happy in the UK, and we've walked into a different role, into a different, wearing a different badge in the same game, but to stay in cricket, and I thank cricket for that. It's certainly different coming back to New Zealand and being on the other side, being in the away changing rooms and coaching against players that you know, and you know all the coaching staff. And you know, I walk around the ground and say good day to everyone because they all know me and I know them. I spoke to the wife last night about how it was actually quite a little bit emotional walking into the ground thinking, I spent my whole life here. But to be working in cricket full stop is what I look at it. Whether I'm wearing an England badge or not, that doesn't matter. You know, I want the team that I work for to play the most exciting cricket they can, to entertain a beautiful Wellington crowd on one of New Zealand's most amazing grounds. But it is a bit strange coming back, but there's a lot of messages on the group saying, where do I go for dinner in Wellington? Where's the best coffee? And to be able to offer that knowledge, I know it's small, but it means a lot to me, and I'm sure it means a lot to the guys. Obviously, I spent a lot of time playing county cricket in England. Ended up playing 12 seasons for Warwickshire, which became our second home. We toed and froed from England to New Zealand every 6 months. And from there, I think a bit of success in the UK. There was a lot more traction around how can you help us, can you help the locals, blah, blah, blah. And I actually really started to enjoy imparting knowledge. And I think from there, the ball started to roll a bit quicker. I've really loved my time working for England, and I hope it keeps continuing. It's a great organisation to be a part of. Such a powerhouse in world cricket, and there's so many players to work with. But then I signed up for a role, primarily in a spin role, that's then now changed into more of an assistant coach / skills role, where we do everything. So there's 4 of us that will do every job that's possible, and we're just there to help, just to support. The guys at this level know exactly what they're doing and how to do it. It's just offering them the nuances of the game. And a lot of the time, it's really just pumping their tyres, because they are some of the most destructive players in world cricket. It's just trying to unlock that. There's so much talent in the UK. They have a bigger pool of players than New Zealand, and so you're going to get a lot more competition. So it's really rewarding. Win or lose, it doesn't matter. It's how we go about our cricket, and I think that's the most exciting part as a coach, is you're not judged. Well, I don't feel like we're judged by our results in terms of whether we win or lose, but how we go about it. It's funny enough that we've got myself, Brendan, and Anton Devicic now. We all played for New Zealand, but working in the opposite changing room. So we sort of know how the ins and outs of New Zealand cricket work. That doesn't mean that gives us an insight on how they're going to play their cricket, because it's a game of cricket and anything can happen. But it is nice to have that knowledge to be able to impart onto our guys and to say, look, the Southerly's in for the week. Make sure you got your jumpers, hit down breeze, try not to hit into the breeze, all those real small things. I loved my time in the commentary. Do I miss it? No, I like being hands-on as well. But we had a great crew with Spark up there in the commentary box. I remember doing test matches here all around the country and ODIs, and it was like a changing room feeling with that commentary group. We had a lot of laughs.
Wagner goes full, and he goes full right into the blade.
I couldn't remember what I had to say at the end. What was I supposed to say at the end? Spark Spot?
Any variation on what you said was fine.
We were very serious about our job and trying to purvey that, I suppose, the entertainment side of cricket. You know, it was colourful. There was a lot of laughter, a lot of serious chat about cricket, but a lot of real care for the game in New Zealand. And I think that's what that commentary group gave the game and gave the injection. I loved my time in it. Would I go back to it? if there was an opportunity at some point, but right now I'm really enjoying what I do too. ECB have now decided, rightly so, that we need to split groups. England's in such high demand in terms of how much cricket they play and where they play. Rightly so, they are a powerhouse in world cricket. That we can't actually have everyone playing everything. So there becomes an importance at some point. I think you're going to get cricketers that come through that want to play all three formats, and that should be promoted. We prioritise Test cricket. We still believe that it's the pinnacle of cricket in the world. Obviously, franchise cricket, IPLs, World Cups have a huge bearing on when we can play all that cricket. But Test cricket is amazing, and that's what we're trying to make the rest of the world believe. Really, that's it is the centre of the game, and we can't lose that tradition. We can make it as exciting as we want to. We can push the boundaries as far as we want to go. I think having that licence and being able to tell the guys to go and express themselves and then believe it, and there are no constraints. As an extension of white ball cricket, no, not necessarily. It's just being a little bit smarter, that's all, and finding ways to gain a march on the opposition, that's all it is. We promote that. We promote a lot of fun, a lot of loud music, a lot of golf, a lot of team bonding, and I think that's what Test cricket brings, is a lot of time together. And as soon as you walk into a changing room where you have to spend at least 5 days with each other and you don't feel like you're comfortable in it, it's probably not where you want it to be. So we try and do the exact opposite and make sure that that Test cricket is loved by our players, and therefore they can have the opportunity to express that to the rest of the world. And I think what you saw in the Mount, hopefully what you'll see this week in the Basin, is exactly that.